Minnesota, your former state. Now you're in Montana, where I was over the holidays.
My home state, Minnesota. I grew up there.
Your home state.
Went to elementary school, high school, and I consider it my boyhood home. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you're from. I feel like you are from pretty much where you went to high school.
Yep.
So Minnesota is sadly being exposed daily, including by county highway, for massive amounts of fraud within its ranks.
Yes.
All permitted by, that's the best case scenario, Tim Walz and his attorney general, Keith Ellison.
Mm-hmm.
You guys did a huge expose on it at County Highway. Then after you, City Journal came. Then after that, New York Times came. Then after that, Nick Shirley, an independent journalist,
blew the doors off the story. Yeah.
Yes, and the reason the Nick Shirley piece was so additive is because it had video, right?
Sure.
Like, I don't know if you remember when my young friend at NYU and her best friend got attacked, and the guy like wailed on her from behind. He hit her in the behind, and then he yanked her to the ground by her hair. And our friend, Summer, was her best friend and went to the liquor store in front of which it happened and got the video.
Yeah.
And we put it on Twitter, and then we put it on this show, and it went viral, and they caught the guy. It turned into a big story because we had the video.
Yeah.
And I think Nick Shirley going and getting the video was a very powerful addition to the reporting that had been breaking. Not by the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, by the way.
No.
Didn't see them at all on the list, nor are they even covering these huge news stories like the Nick Shirley stuff. Most of the broadcast networks aren't really covering it. Most of the legacy press, like New York Times, Washington Post, not covering it, just ignoring it. And by the way, then you have CNN, instead of attacking the Minnesota fraud story as like, let's roll up our sleeves and get it ourselves, attacking Nick Shirley as like, he's just some doofus kid who we couldn't verify his reports because we called the daycare centers and they said that they do have children there. Oh, okay. Well, if they said it, it was certainly a fraudster when asked directly.
If you could believe what criminals and government officials say, we would have no need for a press.
Right.
The whole reason
it's
we
ridiculous.
have one is that they lie about everything, or at least they have an incentive
about everything.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to CNN's apology to Nick Shirley because Tim Walz just ended his campaign for re-election as Minnesota governor because of this cumulative reporting, including yours, including Nick's. And if this is such a made-up scandal that never happened, CNN, why did Tim Walz just announce he's not running for governor again? I'll let you hear him explain it in part right here. This just happened.
I don't want to mince words here. Donald Trump and his allies in Washington and in St. Paul and online want to make our state a colder, meaner place. They want to poison our people against each other by attacking our neighbors. And ultimately, they want to take away much of what makes Minnesota the best place in the country to raise a family. They've already begun trying to withhold funds that were meant to help families afford child care. And they have no intention of stopping there. A single taxpayer dollar wasted on fraud should be intolerable. And while there's a role to play for everyone, from the legislature to prosecutors to insurance companies to local and county government, the buck does stop with me. My administration has been taking fast, decisive action to solve this crisis. We'll win the fight against the fraudsters. But the political gamesmanship we're seeing from Republicans is only making that fight harder.
Oh, please.
He says he can't run for office and address the fraud crisis at the same time.
So he's admitting that it's a crisis. He's admitting that it's a crisis. He's admitting that there's fraud. He's not specifying at what level, but we already know what level. Record-setting historic levels. And yet, at the same time, it's all politics. Choose. Which one is it? Is it Donald Trump lying about Minnesota, or is it Minnesota getting together to defraud the federal government? Because remember, this was federal money flowing through Minnesota, not just state money. It was primarily federal money that was being appropriated and directed into these state overseen programs where it just disappeared, and it disappeared all over the world, and it disappeared into the pockets of politicians, and it disappeared into the pockets of the culprits, and bought their cars and their homes and their watches. And it did so at a level that America was stunned by and continues to be stunned by. And it's only a paradigm for other states. Tim Walz, you were almost the vice president of the United States, which means you would have been a heartbeat away from being the president of the United States. This story was not covered during that election, yet it existed. All the facts that have come out recently were there for the press to look at when Tim Walz was running for the vice presidency. To me, he's the luckiest man in the world. He might be giving the governorship over to someone who will be in a position to pardon him for various crimes. He might be surviving to fight another day, but I don't think his troubles are over. And to go out blaming somebody when you're also supposedly taking responsibility is a classic have your cake and eat it too political move. He's over with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing. This guy was like within a breath of the vice presidency.
Which means you're a heartbeat away from the presidency.
Yeah. And let's not forget, this was the one decision Kamala Harris made on gut instinct. That's what she said. She interviewed him and she just knew Tim Walz was right for the job. Oh my God. So here's the deal. Let me play a little bit more of him explaining why he can't both be governor and run for re-election given the amount of this fraud now. This is him just within the last hour.
But as I reflect on this moment with my family and my team over the holidays, I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year.
Is he going to turn into? Is he going to turn into Batman now? He's going to be a private citizen seeking out fraud and avenging wrongs. What's he even talking about?
Right. So he says, I can't devote any time away from focusing on the criminals who prey on our generosity. Now, literally, he was just calling those of us who are pointing at the Somali community within Minnesota, saying it's them. Hello, we saw them. We see them copping pleas, getting found guilty for earlier frauds by the day. And now we see the Nick Shirley report about what's happening with the children's care in this explosive report that hit over the holidays. Mm-hmm. And you called us all white supremacists. You literally said that you're a white supremacist if that's what you want to focus on. Okay. Or you just want to go where the facts lead, which happens to be here, the Somali community. Here's one of the reasons why he's doing that, in my view. Keith Ellison is his attorney general. Keith Ellison was caught on tape. And this group, the American Experiment, had an exclusive with airing this. I'm just going to play you a little bit of Keith Ellison in the problematic sound bites, and then I'm going to play you the one where he says Tim Walz is right there with him, like, two peas in a pod on his attitude about Somali fraud. Here he is on tape to some of the Feeding Our Future scandal individuals, people involved in it. And he's all about how he's going to help them, not how he's going to crack down on them, but how he's going to help them, because Keith Ellison, of course, himself is a radical, and he's been running cover for groups like this for a long time. Here he is in SOT 30.
Of course I'm here to help. But let me be clear. I'm not here because I think it's going to help my re-election. Mm-hmm. I don't care about no re-election. Mm-hmm. I voluntarily threw my congressional career away. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. It's boring to me. So to do what I'm doing now. So of course, I didn't leave that job to do nothing in this job. Mm-hmm. Am I going to get more hits than I got by prosecuting a police officer and giving them life in prison? Mm-hmm. Right? So so let's just go fight these people. So the question is figuring out exactly how to put a stop to it, right? So what happened? The how is the real question for me here. The how. How do we do it?
Okay, so this group would be charged a month later by the feds, accused of fraud. But here he is on tape like, how can I help you? I'm here to help. And then here's more, where he asks some of the Feeding Our Future scandal individuals the names of the government's officials denying them money. He's pissed off that the government is pumping the brakes on giving this group that would be charged within a month of fraud by the feds, that they're pumping the brakes on giving them money. Take a listen here. Next SOT is SOT 31.
And just send me the names of all these folks who are just hung up and like hanging on by a thread and probably ain't gonna survive unless they get their money soon. That I can take that list and start saying, and I can call Jody Harpstead, the person over at Education, and say, what is going on? Why am I getting these complaints? And I'll call them in my office and demand some explanations.
Maybe it's because they are accused of committing fraud. Maybe there were some sniffs, some aromas of the fraud, Keith, which you should have looked into as Attorney General rather than running cover for this group, which is a very large constituency. I don't have to tell you that, Walter, in Minnesota, that he knew he needed to win re-election. Here's the third one. SOT 32, he talks about Governor Walz and his attitude on this whole nasty business. Listen.
Here's the thing, is as big as you are collectively, most are pretty small. And you're running small, tiny businesses out of business over nothing. And a lot of times, if you think there's a problem, I mean, look, everybody has to comply with what the rules are. But if somebody submits something that's not in the right format, then you call them and say, this is not in the right format. Not you're out, you're done, your contracts are over. And so this has my attention. I'm extremely frustrated by it. But we are in the middle of a battle with the agencies now. And I can tell you this. Walz agrees with me that this piddly, stupid stuff running small people out of business is terrible.
Piddly, stupid stuff. Now, according to my team, that was Salim Said on this tape in the meeting with Keith Ellison. Said was convicted of 20 counts after this. 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 4 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of conspiracy to commit federal programs bribery, 8 counts of bribery, 1 count conspiracy to commit money laundering, 5 counts of money laundering brought by the feds, obviously not Keith Ellison. He and his colleague Amy Bach took advantage of the COVID-19 pandemic, according to the feds, to carry out a massive fraud scheme that stole money meant to feed children. The defendants falsely claimed to have served 91 million meals, for which they fraudulently received nearly $250 million in federal funds, not piddly, stupid stuff, running small people out of business, like Keith Ellison said, and like he said Governor Walz agreed with him on. Instead, said the feds, it was used to fund their lavish lifestyles. Today's verdict, after they got the conviction, sends a message, said the feds, to the community that fraud against the government will not be tolerated. This was uncovered by the Minnesota think tank American Experiment, obtained December 2021 audio. And that's, I believe, Walter, why Tim Walz will not be running for re-election, and it's not because defending the people of Minnesota is going to be a big distraction for him. A new year means new financial goals, like making sure your savings are secure and diversified. Will this be the year you decide to talk to someone from Birch Gold Group? They use an educational approach with a deep understanding of macroeconomics. There are forces pushing the dollar lower and gold higher, which is why they believe every American should own physical gold. So until January 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, you just text MK to the number 989898. Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you are still eligible for a rebate of up to $10,000. Consider making right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before January 30th. Text MK to the number 989898. Claim your eligibility today. Again, text MK to 989898. night. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.